breaking news, and the deal is on hold. You're looking live there at the federal courthouse in Wilmington, Delaware, where just moments ago Hunter Biden's plea hearing has ended with it being on hold. The judge saying she had concerns about the constitutionality over some of the agreements. We were supposed to hear from Hunter Biden. That is the podium that was set up on the bottom of your screen here. But that was when the deal was supposed to be just rubber stamped. A lot has gone much differently than his attorneys had thought. Let's get you out to the ground. Logan Raddick's been tracking this moment by moment for us. What are you hearing, Logan?
Bianca, what a wild day here in Wilmington, Delaware. Not one but two plea deals falling through between Hunter Biden, the DOJ, and the judge, Mary Ellen Noreika. And it looks like they're going to be coming back to court at a later date. Now, the gun possession component was really the reason that this second plea deal just fell apart, because Judge Noreika says that it seems unusual. And she said she was not ready to accept the plea deal and that the hearing, again, ended with Hunter Biden pleading not guilty for the time being. And the judge asked both sides to file additional briefs explaining the plea deal's legal structuring. Judge Noreika had concerns about the constitutionality over the agreements, particularly that gun diversion trial, the pretrial diversion for the gun charge. Now, it's unclear whether we'll hear from Hunter Biden. You mentioned that he has a location set up here in Wilmington, Delaware. Again, his attorneys said he was going to speak earlier, but with everything falling through today, it's unclear if that will happen. So no plea deal for Hunter Biden right now, pleading not guilty for the time being, but still a lot more to come in this legal battle here in Delaware. Back to you.
Logan Raddick, live there in Wilmington. We're watching the return here outside the courthouse. There's been a lot of activity, reporters kind of rushing out at one point, clearly to file their stories. We're waiting to see if we get a glimpse of Biden. Again, presumably he's not going to be speaking. As Logan was talking about, he was supposed to address the media, make some comments for about 3 minutes, not take any questions, but I seriously doubt if that's going to happen now. Let's bring in Matthew Whitaker, former U.S. acting Attorney General. It's great to see him, Matt. A lot of moving parts here. What's going on? I mean, what happened here with all? Break it down.
First of all, I'm an advocate for cameras in federal courtrooms. I think it's a shame that the American people can't see this play out. So that's one.
Agree.
Second, this was such a highly unusual case where nobody saw the charging document, nobody has seen the plea agreement, and now that the judge has seen the plea agreement, completely disagrees with the contents, especially of the diversion that was at the heart of this, because people like me that have done these jobs as U.S. attorneys at Main Justice understand that someone that has violated tax laws, that has illegal gun possession, are not usually given at most probation. And so this judge obviously sees that for what it is. I'm glad. Unfortunately, and I think the biggest challenge is that the one thing that came out today that I thought was a little bit of kabuki theater by the government was this idea that there is an ongoing investigation. So therefore, Congress is not going to be able to get much information for what they're inquiring right now on Joe Biden.
Yeah, and that was sort of the wrinkle in all of this, and we knew that might have been what they were leading up to. Even this week, Matthew, talking about, well, David Weiss can come in after recess and after this tax plea deal they thought would go through. If folks are just joining us again, legally what happened was they went in, they thought they were going to broker this deal. As you talked about, it was the gun diversion plea. She found it to be unusual with broad immunity, but also she didn't want him being let off the hook, it sounded like, for potential further charges and getting immunity outside of this. So we've talked about the FARA Act, not registering as a foreign agent. We've talked about the Mann Act, possibly for bringing people across state lines for sexual orientation, sexual acts here. Do you really think in your heart of hearts that Hunter Biden is now sort of in the crosshairs of potential charges with this DOJ under Biden? And the way we've seen sort of the FBI not following up on 1023s, not listening to IRS whistleblowers. I mean, we're supposed to believe now that there's something else coming down the pike?
That's a great question, actually, and as you were asking it, I couldn't help but think about what is in this diversion agreement. If the judge is concerned about the constitutionality, if Hunter Biden and the government had agreed to essentially a broad immunity, not only previous but in the future, based on what's being investigated, that is an incredibly unusual deal. In fact, unprecedented. I've never seen a deal of that sort with a defendant. But that being said, the FARA liability is real. There's no doubt that Hunter Biden was getting millions on behalf of foreign companies, and he was possibly lobbying or seeking to influence American policy and U.S. policy. And we're seeing that play out.
They charged Gal Luft with FARA, and he was getting paid by the same company as Hunter Biden. The difference is Gal Luft wanted to come forward and talk about Biden's sitting president. And that's a conflict right there.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I was going to suggest that maybe they were essentially in the same roles as consultants, outside people doing business with CEFT or CFC or whatever the name of the Chinese company is, and obviously they hired Hunter not to help them in China, but to help them in the United States with public relations or lobbying or whatever the services he provided. I mean, FARA is a fairly expansive law that reaches many of the things that Hunter was potentially doing.
Well, I guess the difference is, like I said, one had maybe some goods that they want to come forward with. Real quick, just a reaction. Karine Jean-Pierre, just moments ago from the podium, was asked about this and said, the president, the first lady, they love their son. They support him as he continues to rebuild his life. This case was handled independently, as all of you know, by the Justice Department under the leadership of a prosecutor appointed by former President Trump. They like to say that, don't they, regarding Weiss?
That's such a vacant talking point because he was the the first assistant U.S. attorney in Delaware. Anybody that was appointed U.S. attorney would have had to have been approved by the Bidens because of how they control that state's politics. There's no conservatives that I've seen in Delaware recently. So David Weiss was certainly not a Trump MAGA Republican.
All
right. Well, this judge, Mary Ellen Noreika, sort of putting things on hold for today. Great analysis, and obviously more to come today. Matthew Whitaker, good to see you, sir.
Thanks, Matt.
Yeah, thank you both. Good to see you.
Thank you.